Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Gums, and I'm bringing you the Concern Forum. I am your host and moderator, and today we're going to basically go into what happened up in New Hampshire, and also the shape of the campaign in general. And I'll be doing that with my three friends who are basically representing the Bernie campaign on the show today. And that is Louis, Maria, and Louis. Before we go into that, let me say something here that I think, I don't know, some people might think it's a little bit too radical. I really don't care. At this point in time, I'm kind of beyond other people's feelings. We have a situation now where we have a president that is out of control, and we have an attorney general that wishes to help keep our president, how should I say, acting out of control. And I'm so angry, it's real difficult for me to trust myself to speak. I don't know if you're aware of this, but this president, this person in the White House has decided to persecute, not prosecute. Remember, in America, presidents don't prosecute. They can't persecute when we allow them to get away with it. Colonel Vindman. Colonel Vindman is an American hero. Him and his family escaped from communism. They escaped from tyranny. He came here and he figured the way he would pay his adopted country back was to serve in its military. This man has a Purple Heart, a couple of medals for gallantry. He gave his blood for this country. And now, because he did his duty, he reported something that he felt was wrong and that someone above him needed to take a look at. Because he did that, he was unceremoniously kicked out of his post in the White House. And that's fine, because the president has that call on who's going to be on his, National Security Council. I was in the White House. I was in the Pentagon for over 5 years. I was with DIA. I understand how the game is played. That's his call. But what is not his call is when he decides to persecute this man and his brother simply because this colonel did his job. I repeat again, because he did his damn job. And I hope that these Republican senators who sat there and said, well, we know what the president did was wrong, but we're not going to impeach him. We're not going to, well, he's already been impeached, but we are not going to punish him. We're not even going to give an order of censure. We're just going to let it slide. Well, I hope they're happy. I hope that lady up there in Maine, that senator, I hope that she's happy. And I hope that she has been shaken out of her illusions when she said, oh, well, after this, Donald Trump has learned his lesson. Oh, no, he hasn't. Or put it this way, yes, he has learned his lesson. He has learned that you senators in the Republican Party, with one exception, are a bunch of goddamn cowards. That's what he has learned. And that you don't have the backbone, the intestinal fortitude, the guts, however you want to put it, to stand up to him. And quite frankly, I don't think too much of the people whose state that you represent, because I don't understand why they would put a punk like any one of you guys and gals to represent them. Because I would never vote for a coward to represent me. Because that's what you are. You are a bunch of damn cowards. And you do not deserve to sit in what used to be the greatest deliberative body on earth. As far as the other thing that's got me steaming today, this business about the president reaching his hand into a deliberative process in our courts so that he can get his buddy off or get him lesser time. I am so proud of those federal attorneys that just walked off the job. They had every right to do that. They didn't want to be a part of this crap. And I'm just wondering, when are the people in this country who still follow behind this piece of garbage, when are you going to wake up? He's not there for you. He's there for himself and possibly for the Russian Federation. But he ain't there for you people. This is the same guy that wants to kill your health care and cut your Social Security. You need to wake up. And quite frankly, this whole business about all of us getting together, I don't see that happening. Because anyone that's following behind this president after the horrendous behavior that he's exhibited since he has been in the White House, are you American? You know, that's my question to you. Are you American? And I think the least little immigrant escaping from Honduras or Guatemala or anywhere in Central America who comes across the line, comes across our border, will make a better American than any damn buddy that is still following behind Donald Trump. Because there is nothing American about this guy and what he has done to our Constitution, to our way of life, and to our Declaration of Independence and what we're supposed to believe in as Americans. Now, my friends, let me ask you, how do you feel about that? I want to get your opinions. And how does Bernie feel about that?
Well, I feel like Trump is a horrible man. He doesn't care about the people. And as you were saying, yes, those people coming from Honduras, asking for help, and Guatemala too, they are more American than those people following Trump because they actually have values. And they come here to work, and they're here to work with everybody. That's what I believe. And Trump is a horrible man. He's, trying to divide people and get rid of people. He's like a corrupt, like horrible leader that's like trying to just control everything, which is we're not gonna allow.
How about you, Maria? What do you feel? How do you feel? How does he make you feel as an American?
He makes me feel very angry. Makes me feel very angry at the system, and makes me, want to get up and organize even more, and protest and rally. And I think that's why we have that the Bernie, it's this anger that we've gotten from this orange monster in the White House that we want to take out, and that has fueled our movement too.
Okay.
But more than that, also the necessity for change, the necessity for rights for everyone. And that this guy has ignored constantly, again and again.
Okay. Now, how about you, Louis?
Well, I think Maria and Louis said it very well. He makes me very angry, and I feel that Democrats, as much as Republicans, are responsible for the state of affairs we're in. Ever since the 1990s, the Democrats have been sidling up to the Republicans, and they've created this situation where a neo-fascist like Trump can slip in there and in one more term and shred our democracy, what little is left of it. So we have to fight back, and that's what Bernie is doing. And after New Hampshire, it's amazing. I'm still pinching myself. He won the first two. And on to the next, and on to Nevada and South Carolina.
Okay, well now let's go down the line here. Now, I was listening to Mayor Pete last night, and he was saying some interesting things. He was saying that the American people, I forgot, how did he put it? They don't want a revolution. They want, what he was saying in so many words was that Bernie is wrong for trying to shut out people of wealth. Okay, he was saying that Bernie makes it seem like, all right, you're a millionaire, that automatically makes you a bad person. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, forget millionaires. I mean, Pete has accepted money from 40 billionaires right now, so he's on their payroll. So he's not going to create the changes that we need. I mean, we can't go back to the same old, same old. You know, people do want to hold on to, you know, if you got a good union medical plan, you want to hold on to that. But people, we have to change. We got to begin to create a system that's fair for everybody. And I mean, we're the richest country in the world, and we can't afford for everybody to have medical care. Every industrial country in the world is able to do that. Canada, Europe, you name it. They all have medical care for everybody.
Okay.
We should be able to afford that.
Louis,
country
what
in
do
the
you
world.
think about Mayor Pete?
I think Mayor Pete's full of shit. I think
Okay.
he
No,
just.
that's okay. This is cable. He can say that.
I think Mayor Pete just wants that paycheck, like he was saying, from the billionaires. He's getting contributions from 40 billionaires, and if he keeps going, like if he keeps getting, like, if he gets the nomination, I mean, the amount of contributions from billionaires that he'll get will be like hundreds, maybe thousands, from around the country. And I don't think, he's saying those things about Bernie because he knows that Bernie is his biggest competition. And Pete is like the DNC baby. The DNC is grooming Pete.
Now, I will tell you, and maybe I say this because I'm a little older, maybe just a little bit, folks. I wish. And maybe because I've had a chance to really look at politics, I don't think that Bernie is wrong when he says how our politics has become a vast playground for money, okay? However, at this point in time, I don't think that you should, lock out the wealthy people, because there are wealthy people out there, and they look at Trump and they say, "Oh God, this guy is horrendous. We got to get him the hell out of there before he, people are getting killed out in the streets because of him. He has to go." And so they sit down and they write a check, for a large amount, and they say, "Well, I like this young cat, Mayor Pete, so I'm going to help him out the best I can." Right now, we don't have any laws, and this is what I want the Bernie people to understand. We don't have any laws, unfortunately, restricting the amount of money like we should. All right.
We have to pass Citizens United. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's all well and good. A lot of things with the money in politics has to change. However, we ain't there yet, folks. We're not there yet. And like Lincoln said, you have to get in. You got to get in the house before you have dinner. And we have to keep that in mind. And what I don't want Bernie to do, it's okay for him to talk about the wealth and how that's choking our politics. I agree with that 100%. But I don't want him, because this is what Trump is going to do. He's going to try and tag Bernie with this idea of, oh, he's against people that work hard and make money. Now, in the first place, if I were Bernie, I would spin that around so quick, because I would ask him, well, what the hell do you know about wealthy people that worked hard to make their fortune? You were born with a golden spoon stuck up your butt, so how would you know? You never worked for any damn thing in your life, unless it was a better way to cheat on your taxes. But we don't want to close the door on people that can help us get him out of there. See, and I very seldom agree with this lady. What's her name? From Missouri, the one that Claire McCaskill. Yeah. But she's right about this. You don't want to close the door on people that can help your cause. Right now, the most important thing is to get Donald Trump out of the White House. Somebody sent me something from the Green Party, from the Bronx Greens, right? And I'm like, God, dog, you're talking about a presidential candidate. And I've composed a letter to send him.
We've got Bernie.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get one out. I'm going to try and get it out tonight. But the whole thing is, why are you playing these games now? Why are you taking votes away from Bernie? I'm going to vote. If Bernie does not win the primary, I'm going to vote for, I'm going to do everything I can to help Mike Bloomberg get in the White House. We have to, because if you, see, this is what, and I want you folks out there to understand this also.
That's if Bloomberg gets the nomination.
He'll get it. I honestly believe that he'll get it.
We'll see.
I believe he'll get it.
I mean, over Pete Buttigieg. I mean, I don't know.
But I want him to keep his word. If he doesn't get the nomination, if Bloomberg doesn't get the nomination, I expect him to keep his word.
Yeah.
Remember, he said that he would
back the nominee.
Yeah, billions of dollars.
I think I don't know about billions, but I think he's already invested some millions.
And he said he's going to keep doing it to get Donald Trump out of the White House. I want him to keep his word. That's why I'm not going to attack him. I really.
Yeah, but let me comment on that though.
What?
Bernie found another way. Yeah, you're talking about all the others. They're taking money from big donors, from millionaires and billionaires. Bernie found another way. He's got individual donations from millions of people, a little bit at a time. I think the average is $18 now. It was 4 years ago. It was $27. And he's gotten millions of them. And he's got the most funds of anybody. He got $25 million in January. He's got the most funds anybody because he's created a movement to do that. You look at Congress people like AOC.
We're on limited time, so none of us can afford to get on the runaway track here.
Go ahead. No, I want to answer your point about
Bloomberg has the most money out of everything. The man is worth over $60 billion. Okay. I just don't see. I don't think maybe. And I don't mean to be condescending, all right. But I wish I had your brother here. I really do. I really do. Because,
next time he's in town, I'll tell him.
Because he would understand exactly where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing. To have Bloomberg, if he wins a nomination, and to not support him, or at least not to vote for him, you are literally playing with your lives, and you are playing with the lives of your loved ones. I'm not serious. I came down here. I was in such a hurry. I wanted to make sure I was here on time. That I caught a cab, and that cab was a Nigerian cab. Was driving, and he asked me where I was going. I said I'm heading right down here to Manhattan Neighborhood Network. I got to tape my show. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, it's like a talk show. The working persons meet the press. And he said, oh, you're going to be talking about Trump? I said, yeah. And he said, oh, man, he's got my folks so scared. I said, because I heard him speaking to somebody on his radio. And I said, oh, you Nigerian? And he said, yeah. And he said, oh, well, and see, that's another point. He says he wants to change all immigration to merit-based. Okay, fine. Then he says, we don't want Nigerians. Well, Nigerians are the most educated immigrants that come in the country. Why would you not want the most educated people to come in the country?
Because Trump's a racist, that's why.
Yeah. Bingo. Bingo. So this is what I mean. And those people are terrified.
Sure.
Those who are here, if all they have is a green card, they're terrified because they heard talk about people losing their green cards. Which, of course, if the government declares any kind of emergency, they can do what they want. And see, this is what makes me so angry about people of color. That's right. I'm getting on you now. Because y'all are partially responsible for this. I'm not saying totally. But when y'all took a look at Hillary, she didn't come into your area, you said, oh, well, the hell with it. Well, I don't like Trump either, so I'm going to stay home. Well, what you did, you fell right into that trap because you got Trump. And you gave him a chance to dig his little fortifications in the White House. Now, He's in there. And we are facing the toughest election since 1861. And I beg of you, do not mess around with any third party independent. This is not an election as you know it. I swear to God, because some of y'all are going to be on the yellow school bus. If he is reelected in November, I guarantee you, right here in New York City, you're going to see yellow school buses rolling. Now, I'm not trying to brag on myself in this because I feel bad as hell. I haven't had a decent night's sleep hardly since this guy was elected. But I've been calling the shots right. I told everybody that he was going to get elected. I told them when I was on the bus for Hillary Clinton that she was making terrible mistakes by not reaching out to everyone, and that Trump was going to eat her lunch. And everybody would say, oh, yeah, I'm sure, Bob, don't worry, we got it covered. Yeah, you got it covered all right. Now we have a damn fascist in there. And believe me, if he gets reelected, a lot of y'all ain't going to be here. Within 8 months, I will give him actually less than 8 months. Most of the time, I'm in either northern Manhattan or in the Bronx. And I guarantee you dollars to Navy beans. If Trump gets reelected, a lot of you, you're going to see yellow school buses. And they're not going to be carrying school kids. They're going to be carrying families. They're going to be carrying a lot of single males. And that's real. Because they're trying to do that now. They started to pull that crap in Georgia, but then the farmers got so scared they had to back off a little bit. But this time around, he ain't going to stop because he thinks that he's unstoppable. So if you ever thought about not sitting on your butt for an election, this is the one. And this is not Democratic scared talk or anything like that. Because I'm going to tell you, quite frankly, if you don't know how dangerous Trump is, you ain't been paying attention, number one, okay? And number two, I really don't think too much of your intellect. If you want to get mad, kick my butt when you see me out on the street, if you can. But I'm telling you the truth to your face. You screw up this time and you don't get out there and vote, you might be digging your own grave. Please, your comments.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is a very urgent election. Everyone needs to come out and vote, and because we need to get Trump out of office. And I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to say I think Bernie has a chance. I think that right now, not just in the primary in April 28th, but also in the general election in November, we all need to come out and we need to make sure Bernie wins the election. Because I'm going to say it now, and I'm going to say it again later, and I said it before, Bernie is the only one that can beat Trump.
There's only two people right now, and even though he is my fellow Navy veteran, I'm not going to say Mayor Pete. But there are two people that can take Trump. Bernie and Bloomberg.
What makes you say Bloomberg?
This is America. That man has $60 million. He has, $60 billion. He has connections up the wazoo. Okay? Now the second part to
But
that.
he doesn't have any delegates yet.
The second
there you
part,
go. You don't win if you don't get delegates.
Don't worry about that. The second part of that statement is this. I said it first that there are only two people that can take Trump. There's only one person that can definitely take Trump. And I hate to say it, but that's Bloomberg. Bernie is an excellent possibility. But right now, people are finally starting to get frightened. For the first time since I've been watching MSNBC, I actually saw fear and panic and heard the panic in commentators' voices. And I know, I've been in combat, and I know when men, when they're afraid. You can tell by a certain, way a person's voice sounds. I'm talking about terrified. And people are terrified. And see, that is why, that's one of the reasons why so many people are saying, yeah, I like Bernie, but see, they're thinking about those folks where your brother had to, watch his back.
And
Those
so-
folks down south and in the Southwest, and some of like in places like Wisconsin, you got some idiots that think that, well, if there's a choice between Bernie and Trump, I'll go ahead and I'll stick with Trump because my economy is good, my bank account is good. And see, these are the type of people, they don't, as far as I'm concerned, they can't think, they don't have a moral compass, because even if you were wealthy, how could you follow behind a man that puts children in cages?
But
That blows my mind.
I'll
I'm
tell you.
sorry,
No, that's all right. I'll tell you one thing. I think there is one thing where you're wrong on that. Bernie got and Trump both did well in the rural areas. That's their strengths. Bernie can take enough votes away from Trump to win it. None of the other Democrats have their strengths in the rural areas, including Bloomberg.
You know what?
So that is one strength he had. Bernie also has a long strength in labor, and this time around, as opposed to 4 years ago, in the Black and Latino communities, Bernie is running very strong right now. We'll see. I mean, hey, I got to take a moment just to celebrate last night's victory. I mean, Bernie won in New Hampshire, amazing victory, and then on top, and that was on top of winning the popular vote in Iowa. So he's he's 2 for 2 right now. We're going on to Nevada next and South Carolina. Let's talk about Nevada for a minute.
Nevada. I understand what you're saying.
No, before we get to Super Tuesday and Bloomberg.
I know all about the unions.
I know you know, but I'm just saying to the audience, the Nevada, Bernie's strength is labor and the Latino vote out there. He's running very strong in both. We'll see. I mean, there's no clear front runner. Although coming off of all this momentum out of here, that might give Bernie the boost to win him.
And on to that, to your point about Bloomberg, we haven't really seen Bloomberg compete in a primary yet. We've only seen Bloomberg run as a mayor in New York City, and then now we've only seen Bloomberg pull his ads and everything, but he hasn't really ran for a primary in neither in Iowa or New Hampshire. We've only seen the candidates we've seen, and we've seen that Bernie won the popular vote in Iowa. He has the people. He won in New Hampshire too.
And by the way, as far as having the people in New Hampshire, this was the largest turnout ever in a Democratic primary.
Yeah.
And the largest one before that was Obama, and this one got a little bit even more than that. And Obama had a lot of enthusiasm in 2008, hope and change. He came in as a strong progressive against the Iraq War. And there was it created a lot of hope and momentum then. Well, this time around, Bernie he pulled he got all these young people out there, and they're voting, and there's a lot of momentum. So we got something going here.
I understand what you're saying, but I think that you folks need to temper this with some reality, okay? Because you have to remember that.
Yeah, but that is the reality that he won.
I mean, the reality is we have Bloomberg in the primary, so we don't know how he will perform.
That is true.
The moment I see him perform in a primary, then I can tell you what his perspective, like how he looks like in the race.
I don't think that you folks really understand what you're up against here. I really don't. In terms of Iowa, I don't even count that. Okay, especially now that we know that Russian Republicans. Because that was, and also remember that was a caucus, and Nevada is a caucus, and whoever came up with the idea of a caucus should be taken out and shot, quite frankly, because they're no damn good. Anybody who knows anything about politics will tell you that. You can get you move over here to my side. Here's a candy bar, like the guy said. That's no good. Number one. Number two, when they were reporting the amount of votes, we find out now that Republicans, I just call them Russian Republicans because you can't tell who's KGB and who's a Republican. And they were monkeying around with the damn people. People were calling in on cell phones. And they were monkeying around with the cell phones. That's how come the results are so screwy. And what I'm trying to get you folks to understand, to think about it, because remember, like I say, I've been believing the stuff that Bernie says we should have in this country. I've been feeling that way for the last 30, 35 years. But we're up against a guy that, with the help of a foreign nation, an adversary foreign nation, took power, okay? He is not just up against, we're not just up against backwards voters in the South that, don't believe in what the Democratic Party is supposed to stand for. We are up against a whole security system of an adversary nation. And I know the KGB. I've been up against the KGB. They are good. They're damn good. You got three great intelligence agencies on the planet. Well, actually four. The Chinese, the Russians, the Israeli with Mossad, and the United States. That's who we're up against. This is international. This election coming up, it's not just about you or me. This is about going up against Putin, because it's in Putin's interest for the United States to be in a stage not only of decline, but in a stage of being, at each other's throats, a stage of divisiveness. So that way he can do what he wants to do, first in Eastern Europe, and then slowly move into Western Europe.
Let's look at that what you just brought up, a very important point. That backward voters in the South. Well, maybe voters in the South ain't quite as backward as we've always assumed they are, because right now Bernie has been rising up there. Biden's kind of tanked, and his thing, and he looked like he had it wrapped up a month ago. He ain't got it wrapped up now. He's been starting to fall, and Bernie's been climbing up there. So we'll see. I mean, it's right now both of those primaries are up for grabs, and we'll see what happens. But right now, I give our candidate a good chance of winning both. So let's see.
Well,
let's see
now
we go from there.
we see how you guys.
And then we get into Super Tuesday.
Okay,
on March
Louis.
3rd. Yeah.
Now we see how you guys feel about Bloomberg. Now, how about I know a lot of people like this lady, Klobuchar. Yeah, Klobuchar. Tell me,
Klobuchar.
how do you feel about Louis?
Well, interesting. I told a lot of people that Klobuchar is the person we should be worried about because she was a dark horse. A lot of people.
You said that. I didn't believe
I said that.
Yeah.
People told me.
It's like you were right.
Yeah, people told me I was crazy, and they said
You predicted a tie for Iowa.
I predicted a tie in
And
Iowa,
I told them I didn't believe him.
and I
She
predicted
came awfully close.
yesterday that there would be a tie. No, I predicted that delegates will be a tie, or Klobuchar will be the dark horse and she'll come out second and third. And the thing is, Klobuchar, I don't know, she is really interesting. Her tactics, like, I don't know, it's like, I don't even know how to say it. This is something about her that people are going after, certain people, and I don't know why. I have a feeling that Klobuchar is one of our biggest opponents, along with Pete. I see in the DNC in Milwaukee, I see Bloomberg, Bernie, Klobuchar, and Pete being the top four.
But what's interesting about that is that
That's my fear.
Neither Klobuchar nor Pete are going to do well. It looks like. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but the way I feel looking at it right now is neither of them are going to do well in either Nevada or South Carolina. That's not their strength. Pete Pete does not have strength in the black community, no way. And Amy also does not have a good base
They won't.
in either of those. Bernie has been rising up. Yeah, Bloomberg's been rising up a little bit too in South Carolina too, but he's not running there. He's coming in on Super Tuesday. So we'll see. But right now, Bernie's got a good chance of taking them both with the momentum.
That is true. That is true. But
so yeah,
I have a feeling that Pete and Klobuchar are working behind the scene. They're working together. I have this feeling that somehow Pete is going to choose Klobuchar as her VP.
Yeah.
This weird feeling. I have.
Yeah, but that's down the road.
That's down the road. But I'm seeing this.
I remember from the last show you mentioned. Klobuchar
First they gotta
is not
win
running
before
for
they can choose a
president,
VP.
She's running for VP. You said
Yeah.
that, and then
That's what she's
all
doing.
this happened with Iowa and New Hampshire, and we were talking and we said, yeah, she is going to be Buttigieg's VP.
Yeah.
She's running for that position.
Yeah.
Even though in the public, it may not seem like they're getting along.
This guy here, he is extremely perceptive.
Yeah, he's good.
You find me a smart one here, I'm gonna tell you. You find me
I've
a
been
smart young man.
They found me.
I've been predicting all these things, and
Right, he's right.
like, we're gonna rely on Warren for Bernie. We're gonna have to rely heavily on Warren. Hopefully, Warren
Like the
endorses,
former Bernie people.
tells her delegates
The
come
problem
to
with
Bernie.
relying on Warren is that the
That's
slice of the pie has gotten thinner. So
I don't know about that.
we'll see.
I don't know
We'll
if
see.
Warren
We'll
would
see.
do that. But
That's the thing.
you're right with Pete. Now, Amy, I think she's going to do well
Too well.
in South Carolina.
We'll find
I'm
out.
not saying she
We'll
will.
find out.
I'm not saying she will top Bernie.
No.
So far, neither
she
she
will do
nor
well.
Pete. So far, neither she nor Pete are doing well down in either of
We
those
were
states.
actually-
But we'll see. But after last
Yeah.
night, who knows? You know, it's up for
We
grabs.
actually mentioned Tom Steyer probably doing well in
Yeah.
South Carolina, and then
It'll
maybe
be
goes
good
well
for us
against
if
Bernie.
Bernie is gonna do really good in South Carolina. But if Tom Steyer could do really good in South Carolina too, that'd be good because I see Tom Steyer
Yeah.
endorsing Bernie and telling his delegates to come to the Bernie side. That's a good thing for us.
Yeah.
Well, he's a Californian, so yeah, he might do that. That's possible.
Yeah.
By the way,
That is
you know
possible.
when I
Numbers
knew
from the polls,
you know when I
Yeah.
knew Bernie was going to win New Hampshire? A few days ago, when this guy from this group I'm with, New York Progressive Action Network, and he's one of the leaders, a young guy named Stephen Carbonetti, went up there to knock on doors, and he put his Facebook post. And on the Facebook post, he said, "We knocked on 150,000 doors today." And my jaw just dropped because I have never heard anything like that happen. There's a movement here, and it's growing. And they did it in the cold and the icy driveways, and not only that, but most people don't. You knock on the door. Nobody's answered that door because most of the people going through their driveways, through the garage and into the house. So in the way that things
My
are
take
there.
on the-
and yet they did it, and they knocked on that, and that was like 1/5 of all the voters in the damn state. In one day, they did that.
My
So-
take on the New Hampshire, Hampshire, yesterday, primary
You guys
yesterday.
were up there, right?
Yeah, we were there too.
So I was.
Bernie
to
won,
go.
but he won the popular vote. But the thing that people don't realize is that we tied in delegates with Pete Buttigieg, and that's like BS. If we got the popular vote, like
Should have more delegates.
we should have more delegates.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Didn't work.
it doesn't work like that.
You see, one of the things that progressive people have to contend with in this country.
Yeah.
And see, I don't want anybody running around saying, "Oh, well, they were out to get Bernie." You have folks that don't want Bernie, but they weren't out to get him. Okay. In American politics, it is real hard because the progressive person are usually the ones that have the masses behind them. But American politics is set up in such a way so that your high offices, when you're talking about presidential, then politics changes because then you get into the thing, all right, like you say, he got the popular vote, but he got the same delegates
Yeah.
that Mayor Pete has. And there's a reason for that. And it's not anti-Bernie. That's just the way that the system
It's
is
set up.
rigged.
Yeah,
See? For example, we don't have popular voting for president.
you don't.
See? And for some reason, as soon as you start talking about president, it's like democracy goes out the window. You're running for mayor, you're running for city council, you're running for state assembly, you're running for governor even. And it's fine, one person, one vote.
Yeah.
But when you start anything dealing with presidential, you are not going to have, one person, one vote. There's always going to be some drag there, okay? Yeah, you got all these guys, but you don't have the same amount of delegates. And that's what that is. And I tell you, I will feel a little better when I see what happens after Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because that's when you're going to see basically where Bernie stands, where Mayor Pete stands.
I actually think New York State will be the decisive state
Really?
New York State, yes.
We have
I've been
140
I've been
delegates.
saying that from the start.
That's further on.
That's
down
further
the
on.
road,
Yeah,
though.
Super Tuesday
That's
will
April 28th.
Super
Tuesday
Tuesday
with
will play a big role.
California, Texas.
I see Joe Biden
Yeah.
dropping out after Super Tuesday, but New York State will play a huge role in the presidential election. Not only because we have a bunch of delegates, but because of Bloomberg.
Well,
I-
I want to counter that.
But let me finish.
Oh,
okay,
sure.
so sorry.
Sorry.
Bloomberg, from what I've seen, he's been a Univision, and he's been rallying up Latinos.
Yeah.
From my experience
Yes.
being in the streets, a lot of Latinos are pro Bloomberg,
That's correct.
and I tell them why, and they're like, "Oh, because he speaks Spanish. He's on Univision, all these Spanish sources, channels." And I'm like, "But don't you care about what Bernie is saying?" And they're like, "No, Bloomberg's Bloomberg. He's on Univision." My take on this is that we need to get Bernie, once he gets to, it gets closer to the primary here in New York, we need Bernie to come to the Latino and African American communities
Get him
and
on
talk
Spanish media.
and get him on the Spanish media.
Yeah.
This is what we need.
Now I'm going to tell you something else too. You were talking about Nevada, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's going to really mean that much, and I'll tell you why. Because Bloomberg is not going to be in Nevada.
Nope.
But you know what?
But there are delegates there.
He's got a hell of a lot of Hispanic support in Nevada. He might have more than Bernie. If I were Bernie, I would not bet on Hispanics getting more Hispanic support than Bloomberg.
Bernie's not dominating in either Nevada or South Carolina
But
yet.
it's
But
Bloomberg
he
on
is
the
growing.
ballot in
He is
Nevada.
growing, though. So we'll
Is,
see.
is Bloomberg on the ballot?
I
in
gotta,
Nevada?
yeah, I gotta check that out.
I believe the last.
I don't think
my
so.
memory. I'm not an expert on it, but my memory is that he won't come in until
Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday,
Yeah,
on
he-
March
yeah.
3rd. On
That's-
March 3rd.
that's when he
March
comes
3rd.
in,
That's
yeah.
which is the week after.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
week after
interesting thing
South
is
Carolina.
that there was a number of votes that were, were made public at midnight from New Hampshire, and it was a town of 5 people. One person voted for Bernie, one for Warren, and 3 wrote Bloomberg.
Was that in New Hampshire, right? Did that town start with? I think the name of that town start with an H.
I don't remember, but I just
Hanover?
remember seeing the.
No, not Hanover.
It,
Hickey something.
yeah, it was a very small town.
Yeah, up on the Canadian border, right?
Maybe,
Something like that.
You sure
Yeah.
that's not a city out there? No, just kidding.
Wow.
But I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
They went out of their way to write Bloomberg because
Mm-hmm.
Bloomberg was on the ballot in New Hampshire.
Well,
He's
see,
going to get some support, no doubt about it. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now. If somebody would have asked me right now, who do you think the next president of the United States would be? I would say Bloomberg.
Bloomberg.
I most certainly
You
would.
mentioned about Biden dropping out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count the chickens yet. I mean, the last I saw, Biden still was ahead in South Carolina. If he, by some miracle, he's fading, but if by some miracle he actually does win the state, and I even remember talking to the city council president Corey Johnson. He said no way is Biden not going to win South Carolina. I said, well, I wouldn't bet the house on it, but if by some miracle he actually holds on to South Carolina, well then he's back in the race again. So this thing is not it's still fluid and things can change.
I don't think he will win because of Tom Steyer. Tom Steyer will split the vote with Joe Biden.
And by the way, Bloomberg has some support
No,
there
excuse me.
too. But is that
What
right?
did you say?
Tom Steyer, I think he will split the vote with Joe Biden. Tom
Yeah.
Steyer is doing really good in South Carolina, and then
And
Bernie,
so- and Bernie is doing
Bernie's doing
well
really
there,
good.
too.
Bernie, I think, will
Bernie's
be the
rising up
favorite.
there,
I
too.
think Bernie will be
Yeah.
first, and then it's a fight between Steyer and Biden.
Yeah.
That's my
Well, right
prediction.
now,
Steyer's
though,
like Bernie, so
right now
helps.
Biden is still ahead. So I don't want to count my
But I
chickens
think
yet.
that people see that Biden has gone down. He
Oh,
hasn't
yeah.
done so well. His performance is bad.
I think you're right.
Like people want to be on the wing side.
But we have to see.
here goes the
Until
problem.
people get out and vote,
We
we
gotta
don't
see.
know. We
Yeah.
don't know. But
Well,
Yeah.
see, here goes the problem. The biggest problem that we have is how to protect ourselves from Donald Trump and his minions. That is the problem. Because I'm going to tell you something. Now, I don't give a damn who thinks I'm crazy. But I honestly believe that election of 2016, I believe Hillary won the election.
By 3 million votes.
She did win.
She did, but by 3 million
No,
votes.
I'm not talking about that. I know everybody knows about that. But what I'm talking about, I remember there was this young lady. I think was she Air Force, and she came across a whole bunch of stuff, and they had her in the stockade at the same time. Remember that guy that even Hillary wanted to keep locked up? I think he had a sex change to a woman.
Lock 'em up.
You don't remember that? When they were talking about this guy, he had sent a whole bunch of stuff to that little creep with Wikipedia.
I don't remember.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
Is
this
that
was
from New York?
no, it was from New York.
You're not talking about the head of Wikipedia who went to Ecuador and got the consulate. Is that the guy?
Yes.
You're talking about
him.
him, right? Yeah.
Well,
The intelligence.
Oh, Hassan?
intelligence.
yeah, you had two military people.
Okay.
The one is the one that everybody's supposed to know about. He later had a sex change operation and became a woman. Okay, but there was another military person, a young lady, and apparently she had information because she was a tech person, and she had some kind of information relating to the 2016 election, and I don't know what happened to it. Never heard from. I haven't heard anything about her in over a year and a half. See, but I just do not believe that that election was fair and square. I mean, I know it wasn't fair and square, but they say that we lost it in the Electoral College, and see, I don't believe that. And see, this is what I try to get across to people. You have this country is so infiltrated. Prime they got a movie out now. It has my boy, what's his name, Pacino, right? And it's about a plot where a certain faction in America was bringing in Nazis. I'm not talking about World War II.
Talking now.
I'm talking about now. They're talking about the old geezers who were left over from WW2 and their followers. And they have been quietly brought into the country.
Does this have anything to do with our good German president, Drumpf?
Very good possibility. Now, see, this is what I mean, right? When I say that people are rightfully, they're terrified. Now, I mean, I'm not saying this to try and change anyone's mind, but I just want people from now on to start thinking and to be aware that there are a lot of things happening, both here and overseas, that have a direct link to what happens with our election. You have Bennett.
Yeah, but the Democrats are not pure as the driven snow either. I mean, they a lot of responsibility for 2016 falls on them for not going into the rural areas. They were very comfortable in the cities here. I remember, just like you were talking about, that you knew Trump had it, and all of you come back to the city here, and I did the same thing when I went upstate. You come back to the city here, and everybody says, no, Hillary's got it. It's got it. They're very comfortable being in their little bubble in the cities.
Yeah, but
when you go upstate
Louis,
and you go to the rural areas,
Louis, hold on
it's
a
a different
second.
story.
Please, we're talking two different things here.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about the Democratic Party. We're not talking about how they handle things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
All right.
They have not.
You're
done
talking
a
about
good-
the Russian influence. You're talking about
No, I'm not. Hold on a second. We're not talking about the missed opportunities of the Democratic Party. What we are talking about, really, to me, it's a form of treason, okay? That has been going on for a while. And what they have done, they have poisoned, through the Republican Party, they have poisoned our election system, the way that we hold elections, especially national elections. And that's what I want people to be aware about. Don't look, Lewis, don't get into this kick. I got a buddy, he does the same thing. David, not David, down here. Could you turn that on, please?
Yeah.
I don't give a damn who it is. Not David, heavy guy that you see here. A friend of mine. He has that same hang up. You know, I'm not going to vote for the Democrats because of this, that.
I'm
and the
going to
other.
vote for the Democrat,
Okay.
whoever it is. we got to get Trump out of there.
Yeah,
Danger of
well, see,
fascism.
this is what we're talking about. But what I'm telling you is that you have to start to recognize the obstacles and don't wind up being a pawn. That's all I'm saying. I want people to think about what they do before they do it. That's all. Don't worry, buddy. I'm on your side. I'm with
Same
you,
here.
baby. I'm
Same
with
here.
you.
Same here.
But I'm just telling you, you know, that a lot of things have been happening over the last 40 years.
Right.
A lot of it has to do.
And you come out of intelligence in the military, so you know a lot of this stuff. You know
Well,
a lot
yeah.
of the inside stuff.
A lot of it has to do, believe it or not, with first with black folks, then with Hispanic folks, because a lot of certain people wanted to come up with ideas to counter first the civil rights movement, and then they got into this thing about they don't like Hispanics. Well, actually, before that, they got into trying to do something to stop the women's movement. See, change is
It all
real
came
hard
together. All
for
came
some
together.
people.
Sure, sure.
And now you're talking because that's what happened. All of it came together. And you have a lot of people. George Bush had a guy that worked in the White House. I think he was on the NSC, the National Security Council. This guy had been a Hitler Youth because he was an immigrant, German immigrant originally.
After World War II, we brought all the German rocket scientists here.
Yeah,
the
well,
Nazi
everybody knows
scientists.
about
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we're not talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that. What we're talking about is,
something more
active.
recent. Something
Yeah.
right. So-
Now you have what's his name? I just said Bannon, right?
Yeah.
You know what Bannon does a lot in his spare time? He goes back and forth across Europe, right? And he gets into these rallies
With these
with
neo-Nazi
these right
parties.
wing. There you go, neo-Nazi groups.
Yeah.
Now remember, this was a guy that Trump had on the NSC. All right. Anytime somebody says NSC, that is big time. All right, in the White House. That's it. National Security Council. Those are the people that determine the foreign policy. Right. He had this guy who, for all practical intents and purposes, this guy's an anti-Semite. Okay, he hangs out.
And despite his Jewish
Yeah, hold on a
son-in-law,
second, you're killing
Trump
my
is
thought
too.
here.
I'm sorry.
You got this Italian group, in northern Italy, fascist group. All right, they still want El Duce to come back. And one of Bannon's favorite authors is a guy who started this organization. And that's where he spends his time. Mommy, write essay. What did you do for your summer vacation? What Bannon does for his summer vacation, he goes to these like you said, these neo-Nazi groups.
All over Europe, you're right.
And he was in Trump's White House on the NSC. Why do you think he's not there anymore? Or he got moved. I don't know. Trump might want to. He would probably bring him back if he gets a second term. Why do you think he had to leave the first time?
Some of the regular Republicans thought he was a little bit too much for
There
them.
you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
remember that. You remember. Good. See, that's what I'm talking about. These people have all kinds of connections with technocrats overseas who think along the same lines they do.
Sure.
With that guy in Hungary, the president of Hungary, all right? He is a goddamn fascist.
Yep.
You know, people...
And he ain't the only one.
Hold on a second. I only got a few minutes here. You know, people forget that the most of your concentration camp guards during World War II were not Germans. They were Eastern Europeans who hated Jews. So much so that thousands upon thousands of them volunteered to, be in the German army, number one, and to be guards in the Hitler's concentration camps. And a lot of these people emigrated to places like Illinois, South Jersey, okay? And they have a thing they go back and forth. And see, this is what we're also facing. And people need to know about this bullshit, because I really fear that Trump, no matter what the polls say, I fear that Trump might say, well, F you guys. I'm not going anywhere. I'm president. I think that this election was a danger to American security. I don't like the idea of a so-called socialist being president. So I'm staying right here. And you know what he's going to do? You think he's going to call out the Army or the Navy? No. Because, see, most of the senior staff in the military, they're wise to his game. And they're not going to shed their blood or the blood of fellow Americans to keep Trump in the White House. But what he's doing, he is trying to form up his army, his group of brown shirts and black shirts, okay? Just like Hitler had as he went to power. And remember, Hitler fell into power in Germany through an election, okay?
Trump might be more dangerous out of power than he is in. Let's assume he lets the election to go on and Bernie wins and becomes president. Well, then he's got all his brown shirts and all these people he's recruited in all these rallies. You know, he'll be leader of a fascist movement, and that's pretty dangerous, pretty scary. So
Lewis here has made a very interesting point.
Yeah.
So that's why, that's the purpose of this program, of the Concerned Forum. And this is basically what I'm about and why I'm here. Because we got some very dark clouds coming. And I know when they hear this crap about, oh, yeah, well, you know, politics has always been the same and there's always been racism. No. None of us alive now, unless you are freaking 100 and, when was Woodrow Wilson president? 1917, 1918?
Yep.
If you weren't around then you don't know jack, okay? Because this is something new and different, and we're dealing with new technology out here, okay, as a means for those people to do the things that they want to do. So this is today's politics. I know I bring a different slant to it, but these are things that you need to know, that you need to be aware of. And besides, since we're cable, we can curse. But listen, folks, I want to thank you for letting us, come into your homes and, let you know what the facts are, where things stand so far. And as we leave you today, the most important thing I can say is pay attention to what's going on. I know some of you folks don't like to look at television. Well, however you get information, reliable information, then do so. Because you need to know what's going on. You need to listen. You need to think. Okay? Don't just sit up there like an apple on a log, all right, and just, nod your head. Look at what's going on. Hey, listen, thank you very much for letting us have your time. See you next week, same time, same place, the Concerned Forum, and I'll have other guests on, and we're going to keep talking about this business and trying to inform people of what's happening. You take care and God bless. All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah,
Take
but
the
see,
mics off.
yeah, put them on the chairs.
Good show.
Yeah, well, thank you. I wish we lived in a country where Bernie could get elected, no problem.
We'll find out.
I still think it'll be Klobuchar, Buttigieg, and Bloomberg, and Bernie at the end.
I think you're right.
I think that's the.
Don't forget Bloomberg.
Yeah, Bloomberg. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, those four. And
Who
Pete,
do you think Bloomberg will support between
Pete.
Buttigieg, Klobuchar?
Pete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloomberg over Pete. In the blink of an eye. I think Bloomberg, Klobuchar and Pete. Pete would have picked Klobuchar as VP, and Bloomberg, he will make a deal and then we're gonna end up protesting outside, rallying
Right.
outside.
Well,
no
what if
Walmart.
Biden? Hold on.
Don't
What
do
if-
that.
all right, let me
That's
play
what's gonna
the
happen.
devil.
People are
devil's
gonna get
advocate
arrested.
here. What if Biden gets a big bump out of South Carolina,
gonna drop out.
and he goes on and starts to win a lot in the West and the South, where he might have a little more support? So I'm just saying, don't count him out yet. I mean, he's down. He's definitely down, and he's fading. But
I
like I
think
said, he is still ahead in South Carolina. So it's, let's not count it out yet.
I
Don't
honestly-
count your chickens before they hatch.
That's
all.
true.
That's what I'm trying
That's
to
all
tell
I'm
you
saying.
guys.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm honestly thinking that we're gonna have to rely heavily on Warren. I don't know why.
Wow.
Just
I
on
hope.
Oh.
Well, that's why I always said make her the vice president, because if Bernie wins, make her the vice president. But she's got a section of voters. Bob disagrees with me on this. I'll tell you how.
I know